Hi everyone, it's Miss O. I'm so glad that you're joining me to practice today. This video is for everyone who's been playing their instrument for 2, 3, or more years. So if you've only been playing for 1 year, go back to the slideshow and click on the video for 1 year. Today we're going to be talking about tone production on our open strings. What is tone production? The tone that we make on our instrument is the quality of sound, so we want a really good quality of sound. Focusing on making a good tone quality when we play our instrument makes the difference between sounding like this and making a good tone quality like this. So today we're going to talk about how to use just your right arm to make that difference. This is a practice with me video, so you do want to make sure you have your instrument out. Make sure it's in tune as well. You can go back to the slideshow from the second week of online classes if you need a refresher on how to tune your instrument. The first and foremost thing when you're trying to make a good quality of sound is making sure that you have good posture. Having a good posture is the root to everything when you want to make sure that you're playing the violin, the viola, or the cello correctly. So if you need a refresher on how to make sure that your posture is good for your instrument, go back to last week's slideshow where Mrs. Robinson made a video on posture for the violin and viola, and Mrs. Peters made a posture video for the cello. In this video, I'm going to be explaining the right arm's role in making a good quality of sound for the violin, the viola, and the cello. First, we're going to start with our shoulder. If I were to move my shoulder, that determines what string my bow is touching. I like to imagine my bow like a seesaw at the playground. You have one person sitting on this end and one person sitting on this end, and when you both sit there, it swings back and forth. When my bow is on my strings, if I swing back and forth like a seesaw, you can see it move between the strings, but it makes almost no noise. You should be able to do this motion only moving your shoulder and without having to move your elbow at all. Our shoulder plays the same role when we do this on the cello. So what's the elbow's role? Gently put your instrument down and try moving your arm like a door, only moving your elbow to swing it back and forth. When I bring my bow back to my instrument, I should be able to move my bow back and forth without moving my shoulder and just swinging my elbow open and shut like a door. And you should still be able to change bows just moving your elbow on the cello. Try that yourself. You can watch your elbow too to make sure that you're doing it right. Now I'm going to show you something called the Bach tone quality. If you haven't learned yet who Bach is in music class, Bach is a musician from a few hundred years ago. He wrote a lot of music for the organ, the violin, and the cello. We use the letters of his name, B, A, C, and H, to remember how to make our tone quality really good. First, we're going to start with B. B stands for bow speed. Let's start by trying to move our bows really slowly together, and I mean really slow. Sometimes when we try to move our bow that slow, the sound gets a little creaky and scratchy. Did you notice that when you tried it? Now on the opposite end, what if we moved our bow too fast? I found that when I moved my bow too fast, it sounded kind of wispy, kind of like my bow wasn't in the string all the way. Did you notice that too? So we want to do something right in the middle. We don't want it to be too slow, but we don't want it to be too fast either. I find that when we do that medium speed, it's just right. It's not too wispy, it's not too scratchy. Did you notice that as well when you tried? Next in Bach is A. A stands for arm weight, and of course, we're still talking about our right arm. Carefully put your instrument down with me. If you were to let your right arm stay completely loose and just fall down, take your left arm, which is your free arm, and grab your sleeve. Don't grab the arm, just grab the sleeve of your shirt. And try to lift up your arm. You might have to grab it near your wrist. My arm's kind of heavy. Do you notice that your arm's heavy too? We can use that weight from our arm to make our sound really strong. You can apply that arm weight just by letting it sink in from your shoulder. Don't feel like you have to push into the string because that doesn't help. When we use our arm weight to play with our bow, we get a really strong vibration from the string. Don't try to push with your hand or else you're going to get that crunchy sound again like this. It'll sound really relaxed if you're only using your arm weight from your shoulder. The next letter of Bach is C, and C stands for contact point. Contact point is where your bow is on the string. Try with me putting your bow where our fingers normally go. I noticed it was really hard to get a good sound, and I usually hit more than one string at once, and we don't want that. Now try bringing it closer to the other end of the fingerboard. I was able to hit only one string, but it still didn't sound really strong. Let's try bringing our bow over to that spot right between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge. So it's going to be right here. I noticed that was a really healthy sound. The contact point is the same on the cello, so make sure, since we have to look down, that you're still getting your bow between the bridge and the end of your fingerboard. But don't go too far, because if you go past the bridge, you get a pretty unpleasant sound. We like to keep our bow close to the bridge, right in between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge, because that's where the best sound comes out on every string. But did you know that's not the only part of finding your contact point? If my bow is crooked, I might start in the right place, but then suddenly I'm over the fingerboard again. To make sure this doesn't happen, we want to make sure we have a straight bow. Put your bow on your string and see where they touch. Now when you pull your bow for a down bow, see if you can keep them touching in the same place on the string the whole time. But if you notice it starts to move around like this, that means that you're not keeping the same contact point. A really cool thing that happens when you keep the same contact point is your bow is going to be straight, like this. And finally, the H in Bach stands for hair tilt. What does hair tilt mean? Go ahead and take your bow and put it on the string. You want to make sure that the hair is completely flat, so every hair looks like it's touching the string. On the violin and the viola, you want to make sure to tilt the stick away from you, not towards you. So you're going to tilt it a little away from you and see if you can keep the hair flat. If you can keep the hair flat, you're going to get a little more bite to your sound. Hair tilt works the same way on the cello, it just sounds a little different. So first you want to make sure that your hair is in the contact point that you want and flat, but you're actually going to turn the stick towards you so that the bow is facing down. Check that your hair is still flat and you can pull. Try that a few times with me. So first I'm going to put the bow down on the string. I'm making sure the hair is flat. I'm tilting the bow away from me. I'm checking that the hair is still flat, and then I can bow. Let's try it one more time. Bow down, hair flat, stick tilted away, hair still flat, and pull. Now we're going to put it all together to make sure we have a really strong tone quality. Remember, we use our shoulder for changing strings, our elbow for changing bow directions. We want to practice a medium bow speed. We want to use our arm weight for a strong sound. We want to find a good contact point. And we want to make sure we do a hair tilt. Let's play through all 4 of our strings to make sure we can put all of those steps together to get a good tone quality. First, I'm going to start by playing C, so violas and cellos can play their open C. Violins can wait until we play G. Next is open G, which everyone can play. Next is open D, which everyone can play. Next is open A, which everyone can play. And last is open E, which is for the violins. Our right arm plays a big role when it comes to playing our instruments, so make sure that whenever you play, you pay close attention to what your right arm is doing.